I never became addicted to studying because I found the perfect motivation. I became addicted because I accidentally stopped fighting my own brain. And the crazy part? It only took 10 minutes. Not 10 days, not 10 weeks, just 10 minutes that completely changed how I looked at learning. So if you've ever sat in front of your books, stared at the first page, and somehow ended up scrolling on your phone instead, this story might change the way you think forever. We're taught that successful students are simply more disciplined, that they wake up excited to study, stay focused for hours, and somehow never struggle with procrastination. But have you ever noticed something? Almost nobody actually enjoys starting. We don't hate studying. We hate the feeling before studying. That invisible wall in our mind feels bigger than the work itself. So we blame ourselves. We call ourselves lazy. We promise that tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow usually looks exactly like today. What if the problem was never your discipline? What if you've been trying to win the wrong battle this whole time? Here's something I wish someone had told me years ago. Your brain isn't designed to love effort. It's designed to save energy. Every new task feels like a threat because your brain has no proof that the effort will be worth it. That's why opening the book feels heavier than actually reading it. But something fascinating happens after just a few minutes. Psychologists call it activation energy. Once your brain starts a task, it begins resisting quitting instead of resisting starting. The hardest part isn't studying for 2 hours. The hardest part is convincing yourself to begin. That realization changed everything for me. One evening, I had an exam coming up. I wasn't motivated. I wasn't inspired. Honestly, I was already making excuses in my head. I'll start after dinner. Then, maybe after one YouTube video. You probably know how that story ends. Then I made one tiny deal with myself. Just 10 minutes. No pressure to finish the chapter. No pressure to be productive. Just sit down and study for 10 minutes. If I still wanted to quit after that, I could walk away with zero guilt. Those first few minutes felt painfully slow. I checked the clock. I wanted to stop. Then something strange happened. I stopped thinking about studying and started thinking about the subject itself. 10 minutes became 30. 30 became an hour. Not because I forced myself, but because my brain had already crossed the hardest part, the beginning. That's when I realized motivation didn't create action. Action created motivation. And once I experienced that feeling a few times, studying stopped feeling like punishment. It became something I naturally returned to because my brain started associating learning with progress instead of pressure. We spend years waiting to feel ready. But readiness is usually the reward, not the requirement. The world tells you successful people have stronger willpower. I think they simply learned how to make starting so small that failure became difficult. They don't wait for motivation. They create it by taking the first tiny step. Maybe changing your life isn't about working harder. Maybe it's about making the first 10 minutes impossible to avoid. Because every habit, every dream, every degree, every skill you've ever admired started with someone deciding not to finish everything, just to begin. Looking back, those 10 minutes never changed my grades overnight. They changed my identity. I stopped seeing myself as someone who struggled to study and started seeing myself as someone who simply starts. And sometimes that's the only difference between the life you imagine and the life you actually live. So the next time your brain tells you, "I'll start tomorrow," ask yourself one simple question. What if the only thing standing between the person I am today and the person I want to become is just the first 10 minutes? If this story made you see studying differently, let me know in the comments. What's one thing you've been waiting to start? And what would happen if you gave it just 10 minutes today?